Hello, everyone, and welcome to my tournament report for the OTS Championship I played this weekend, being an OTS Championship at Grandmaster Games in Indy. Of course, I played Power Patron, the list you see before you, with the Dominus cards, which is something I haven't done before just because I haven't owned Sparks, and you kind of need Sparks for this version of the deck. Um, I finally got to play, the 12 trap hand trap package, and spoilers, I did not do great. We went 2-3, which is obviously not amazing, and this time it is for different reasons that I will get into. But before I get into any of that, I want to talk about two things. First, the reason I changed the name of these. If I call them regional reports, it makes it sound like I'm only doing it on regionals, and I realize that doesn't really work because if I do them for if I go to any other events, I want to be able to talk about those and still have it be under the same name as everything else. So that's why I changed the name. And the second more important thing is I want to thank you guys for 500 subs. We got there. Really, really, really cool. It means I can be a YouTube partner, which is pretty neat, pretty cool, pretty interesting. But I do want to thank you guys for that. And if there's like something special y'all want me to do for it, I could, might be fun, might be interesting. Anyway, enough talking about other things. Let's get into the list and how the tournament went. So I played 5 rounds, and my matchups were round one was the like Rolad Mitsurugi Fiendsmith pile. Round two was, and I lost the round one. Round two was against Branded, which I beat. Round three was against another Rolad Mitsu deck, but this time it wasn't a pile, which I lost to. Round four was against Monarch, which I beat. And then round five was against Yummy Fiendsmith, which I lost to. And round one, I lost because I misplayed. And boy, did I misplay. So my game one, I impulsed my opponent, right? And I was able to keep them on a pretty mid half board where they basically just had like a bunch of Mitsu monsters on board with a prayer set, and then they had like the Rolad setup. So they had like the Dark Magician Chaos with Mind Shuffle in the back row, and then in draw they were able to get to the BLS, right? So they had like the BLS Banish and Murakumo board wipe plus the hand rip, and I think they had Futsu as well, but I don't quite remember. But I then in draw phase went Crown and crowned the Murakumo, so which admittedly was maybe incorrect because I maybe should have waited to crown the Murakumo, but admittedly I was like, well, I wouldn't mind not letting them get the search. I think that'd be nice. I think that was my logic there, which I think is probably correct, even though like I could have waited for them to actually use the prayers, but I don't really want them getting the free search off Murakumo. So that was the logic. Anyway, plus the hand rip, I don't want to have to like crown when they try to use the hand rip effect either, because then they could like chain prayers and then dodge and then still get a lot of value out of it, which I also don't love. So I thought crowning and draw just made more sense, which was fine. So I crowned the Murakumo, so that was offline. So all they had was BLS Banish, meaning I should have won that game 100 times out of 100. But throughout my combo, I went into Override because it's which is a light monster, a card I couldn't use, and I went into Exceed the Pendulum, which is a light monster, a card I couldn't use. So when I tried to use Exceed effect, I realized, oh right, I impulsed. I can't do that. So I realized, oh my god, I've wasted all my resources on doing a combo that doesn't work. I basically made every combo I'd done from that point was reliant on me being able to use these two monsters' effects. So I just completely screwed myself and lost the game because of it. I basically snatched defeat from the jaws of victory. It was so painful, and it was against like a friend too. So it was so sad. It was so painful. Game two we won, even though we bricked pretty bad. But our opponent also bricked, so we were able to hand trap them once, and then they couldn't do anything. So thankfully we were able to draw into combo and then win the game. Thank God. And then game three, we double fooed them, and then they just did like Mitsu combo, but they had without giving me. I think they gave me one draw, and they ended on trap set. I think they had some other non-engine card in the back. I don't remember exactly what it was, and then prayers. So what sucked was that I just didn't have the extension I needed to play through that. I think there was some things I could have done to optimize it, but I don't think it mattered a ton. And then my round two I won, which Patron just has such a good branded matchup. It feels really nice. Vidolium is just so crazy into that deck. And then my round 3 was against Rolad again. This time it was less about misplaying. I'm trying to remember exactly how this one went. I believe I won my game 1. I lost my game... No, I lost my game 1, I think. Because my opponent went first game 3. No, I went first. No, never mind. I did win. No, I remember now. I won game 1. I won game 1. They won game 2. I imagine... Oh, I remember. They just had, they like, because they had Solemn. I think they had 2 Solemn set or something. And I just got like boxed out of the game by just too many interactions. But I did push through like the whole board besides that one Solemn trap. I think I won the game if they didn't have it. And then game 3 was so painful. I drew a hand of like 3 of the Dominus traps and I think Crown and like an Ash or something. And I just couldn't, I couldn't play the game. And my opponent proceeded to punch me in the face with Skull Archfiend until I died. And I like never drew a starter until it was it wasn't even too late. I just never drew a starter. So yeah, we lost. That was pretty painful. Is what it is though, that one's just luck. And then then it was Monarch and I kind of just bullied Monarch. They didn't really stand a chance. They put up Majesty's Fiend both times and Gepredo just cooks Majesty's Fiend, so that wasn't really much of anything. And then my round 5 was Yummy Fiendsmith, and this one I just got kind of owned. I wasn't able to put up much of a board because I think both games they like just slung like 3 hand traps at me and then had like combo plus extenders. So I just got out hand gamed. They just had better hands than me. There might have been some playing around I could have done to help with things, but I think with the knowledge I knew, I think I played fine in those games. It's just they just had better. They opened better. They opened better. And unfortunately, that deck runs so many hand traps that like it is one of the tougher matchups for Patron in the same way that like Cool Tune can be. But yeah, I mean, a lot of it I think was I don't know the last 2 games I lost were because of I think more luck and maybe some deck building things, but a lot of it was luck. Some of it was deck building things though, which I will get into. And then my round 1 was just I just played really bad. Admittedly, maybe my list wasn't built quite right for the Dominus cards, which I could believe, which I'll talk about in a second. But a lot of it was just me playing bad. So, a little bit of reverse from last time where I felt like my list was really bad and my play was pretty good. This time, I think it was a little bit of the reverse. This list was definitely better than the regional list for sure. The Dominus cards were really good, with exceptions. Dominators was terrible. This card was really bad, and I kind of didn't expect it to be amazing, but I think it even underperformed in that regard. The big thing is that Rolad, this card is awful in a Rolad. It does almost nothing to that deck. You can't hit the ritual monsters, you can't hit Skull Archfiend, you can't hit like all the important cards in that deck. This card does nothing to. So it just feels awful to use against that deck. In the match I lost where I just bricked on like hand traps, Dominators, literally I never got a chance to use it. I never had a scenario where I could activate the card, because if I could have, it would have been huge because I had traps, so I could have gotten the another Dominus card to help me like stay alive. Like Spark there would have been so good just for the banish. What are you gonna do? They just don't care. So I would definitely not play this card in the future. Imperm was fine, but admittedly was probably lower quality than like some other better hand traps I could have played. So in the future, I'd switch these out for probably Fua and Droll. I think there's too many stupid combo decks now for you to not be playing Droll especially, but Fua's also quite good. So I'd say both of these are probably necessary into all the stupid combo decks right now. The other things I think were bad was Gepredo definitely should have been at 3. Every time I drew this card, I was super happy I drew it. This card is so strong. You just need pushes right now going second, especially. And this card sure is a push. It's also not an awful push going first as well if you have to. There is a world where you open like this and some way to a patron, and then you go like try to do something with Nerva or Nervado, and then your opponent stops it, and then you pop the Nervado and the Gepredo in scale to because you don't have to pop a card in the field. The pop is optional. The only like part of the effect you have to do is the destroy itself and another patron / Doomsday card. So like this card is not an awful extender either. And going second, it's phenomenal. So I do think I should be playing this card at 3 100%. It's also one of the few board breaking options I have under the Dominus traps, right? Specifically Impulse. Impulse locks me out of so many cards. So this is being something I use under Impulse and Spark, I think is really good. Speaking of which, Impulse and Spark were both really good cards, although I might be too stupid to use these cards because, again, I was really struggling to remember I had used these cards and then making some Link monster or something, Override or Exceed or something like that, and then realizing, oh my god, I can't activate the effects. That happened way more than I'd like to admit. That's really, I think, the only thing I didn't like about the main deck. As you can see, something that's different from this list to the last list. I guess actually I should talk about some of the changes I made to the engine, because as you can see, I cut a lot of cards from the list. No Patron Trap, no Thea Realize spell. Those are out of here because they're awful to draw. But you might notice I did add some different one-ofs. I added Finmel and Pact Awakening, which that was to offset the fact that I couldn't play Ash in this list because of Dominators, or I didn't want to play Ash in this list at least because I didn't want the hands to conflict. So Fua was going to be a bigger problem. So I wanted to play the line that beats Fua, and honestly, these cards weren't awful. The biggest issue with Finmel was that the Dominus traps, not both of them, but Impulse specifically locks me out of Finmel. So like that, I think it was the game one against, or my round one, game one against Rolad. I had Finmel in hand after using the Impulse, and it was just totally dead because you also can't use it to do non-finito because you can't use its effect either. So this card becomes totally worthless if you Impulse, which does feel pretty bad. But that being said, this line was pretty good, and it did come up a few times, or at least it would have, because I think against Yummy, they did Fua me one game, and I went non-finito, and they hit me with the imperm, I think, every time I went non-finito, which was super rough. It meant that I could just never resolve the effect to set Pact Awakening, which is really unfortunate. But there were games, I think my game one against Rolad, my round 3, I did resolve the thing to set Pact Awakening, and it did win me the game. Like, the follow-up and the end board setup under... I think I had rolled instead of Fuad, but it works the same way, right? It helps you play through cards like that, and this card was phenomenal for doing that. So I am happy I played this card and this line. They were occasionally bad draws, but, like, Finmel really isn't that bad, and Pact Awakening is not great, but admittedly, like, was fine. I think I might have drawn it once, if that. I might not even drawn it a single time. So it was fine. Don't love playing the one-up still, but I think you just have to. Especially now that I think Fua is being main decked in just about everything. There was a time where people were citing Fua in most decks because it was so bad into, like, Branded and Cool Tune. But now I think people are just consistently main decking Fua again because of all the combo decks. So I do think you kind of need, like, a good Fua line, and this is the best Fua line the deck has access to, in my opinion, without playing, like, a whole big Archmage engine. And then we played one Shade the Obscure, which is maybe a surprise to some people. I was a big proponent of playing as much of this card as possible because it's a scale, or a high scale especially, which you don't have a ton of, and it's just like a good extender, and it is phenomenal going first, but this card is awful going second. It's really, really bad, and honestly, I don't think I missed having more than one of this card. In the grind game, it never came up, and a lot of the times if I wanted this card, I could just search it with Terminus, so it wasn't that big a deal, or I'd get it with Beyond the Pendulum in, like, a combo. This card might have still been really good at 3, though, because admittedly, like, there were games where I would just open not enough engine and I would lose because of that. So I don't know, maybe I'll bump Shade back up. To be honest, one of the things I'm really considering, especially after seeing all these, like, stupid pile decks, is I might just play like a Patron pile deck, because the other thing is the version of this deck I had the most success with, hilariously, was the Valance list that played 55 cards. And I think a big reason for that was because that list just was on more Pendulum monsters and offset the amount of bricks you naturally have to play in this deck. Like, I think these were all of the one-ofs I was playing in that version of the deck, right? The one Vidolia, the one Finmel, the one Assault, one Awakening, and one Recapture. I think literally all these one-ofs were the exact one-ofs I played in that list. And in that, and, like, it felt way better at 60 because I wouldn't draw these cards that are very mediocre to see. Plus, we're getting the new overframes in the Magnificent Monster set, which I think help that playstyle a lot more. Of course, that playstyle would be a lot better if we had Electromite, because then any two Pendulum Monsters does everything for Patron, since you can put any Patron into the extra and then trigger it. But this is still, like, I think there's still a lot of synergy inherently, because Beyond the Pendulum can just bridge you to everything in any which way. Really, right now, the biggest issue is I'm trying to figure out extra deck space and what engines I want to play, because you really kind of can play almost any Pendulum engine. Do I throw Valance back in? Do I mess with Odd Eyes? Do I mess with Supreme King or just Pen Magician, or like throw in some of the one card combo style Pendulum engines like Melodious and Soulful Chord? Yeah, so many options. So I'm really working through that right now. I do have like a list I could show off at near the end of the video that is something I'm playing around with that, if nothing else, looks really fun and I would recommend. But yeah, One Shade was fine for this list. And overall, I think this list is all right. I think the only big change I'd make is cut these 6 cards for the Fua and the Droll. For this extra deck, most of this was really good. It did suck that like getting locked out of Override and Exceed kind of felt bad. But there was one thing that I think I'd change, which is I'd probably cut IP for either the Patron Link 2 and throw Theorealize back in, because there were times where I would use one of the Dominus traps, and because of that I get locked out of Non-Finito, and without Non-Finito I can't search Assault, which means I can't search Medius off of like my normal Patron lines if I don't use Terminus to get to it. So sometimes I just wouldn't have access to Medius, and that would feel really bad. So being able to always find Medius would be kind of nice. I do kind of wish I had that in the list in some games. Like I think against Yummy Fiendsmith, it might have been like game determinative if I had the Link monster. And it does, you also have the same like Link effect as IP, so I think that also would have been nice. The other option that actually came up a couple times, I don't know if it's probably not as good as the Link 2 realistically, but if I didn't want to play like a brick in the Theorealize spell, I would maybe throw in Pentastag. A commenter recommended it over Access Code in the last video I put up for Patron, and I don't think cutting Access Code is correct, because this card's crazy. It does come up a lot. Just having consistent removal is so nice. And it lets you like do something with the cards in your grave before you summon Vidolium, and get more cards from their field into the grave before you bring out Vidolium, which matters so much. It came up constantly. So the attack boost doesn't matter on this card. It's just because it's 2 pops. That's all that matters. Pentastag would have been nice because it would have enabled some OTKs that I wouldn't have been able to, that I couldn't do otherwise. There were some times where I was able to Vidolium OTK if my opponent didn't have a bunch of blockers on their field. Or I could just like surprise OTK my opponent super easily, and in general it would just simplify the whole process, right? Like if I play against like the Mitsu cards and they like slam a bunch of defense position walls on the board with Mr. Futsu, the Pentastag would allow me to just kind of cheat my way to a victory by Vidolium buff 5k and then swing for 10k over like a defense position Aramasa, right? Like that does just win you the game. So I don't know. I would definitely consider playing Pentastag for sure. I think the only other card I'd maybe consider is Clockwork Knight, just because it's an Earth monster that you can put in grave for Access Code, which I could also see coming up just to give you a third pop with the Access Code. So those are like the 3 things I would maybe replace IP with. IP wasn't bad, by the way. It just wasn't like as good as I think those 3 cards would have been. But it's hard to say. But those like the 3 slots. I think everything else in here is like not cuttable whatsoever. Dark was insane, by the way. Every time, Dark has like one game where it goes absolutely crazy every tournament I do. This time it went summon my opponent's Dogma against Branded. That is summoned their Dragon that Devours the Dogma. And it was insane because I got to shuffle back my like 2 of my cards, one of them being Access Code, which is broken. But also I got to because it's unaffected as long as there's an Ecclesia in either player's field or grave, my opponent summoned an Ecclesia monster and then lost because they couldn't, like, I think they went Farah effect and went to steal, and I'm like, okay, you can't steal Vidolium because it's unaffected, and you can't steal Dogma because it's unaffected. So they had to, like, steal Dark, which did nothing. So it was just so strong. I loved it. Dark my goat. Also, there was a game where I went dark, summon dark, and then crash into my opponent's monster going second to search out, I think it was Vidolium to keep extending, which was also super huge. In general, yeah, dark's a crazy card. Anyway, before I move on, before I end the video, I do want to real quick show off the list I've been testing. It's one of the versions of the deck, but there's a ton of different variants of Patron, of 60 card Patron that I've been messing around with, but I want to show off the one I've been messing around with, which is this, and admittedly, this is not very Patron. This is actually a lot more like Supreme King, but like, look at how fun this deck looks, man. Oh my god, this deck looks awesome. Like, the turn 1 combo I've been doing lets you cycle through, like, Arcray and Synchro Universe, and your end board has, like, the ability to, like, Soul to summon the Zark, and then Banish to summon, like, the Crystal Clearwing and stuff. And then you can go Astrograph to hard fuse into Zark, since you actually do kind of set up all of the types you need. It's just so cool. It's not super patron heavy. As you can see, I don't even have any of the extra deck patrons in there. It just uses them as like extenders. But I think this list is really cool, even though it's probably not better than like a patron centric list. But this just shows I'm like testing with a lot of different things, right? Anyway, I'll see you all next time. Let me know if you guys want to see anything for the like a 500 sub special. Goodbye.